A ship found completely abandoned, with meals still on the table and no crew in sight. A monument erected by someone whose real identity was never revealed, then mysteriously destroyed decades later. History is full of mysteries that experts still can't fully explain, even with modern forensics, decoding technology, and decades of investigation. Today we're counting down 5 of the strangest cases that remain unsolved. 5. The Mary Celeste. In December 1872, the merchant ship Mary Celeste was found drifting in the Atlantic Ocean, completely abandoned. When investigators boarded, they found something eerie. The crew's belongings were untouched. There was still food and water on board, and even a sewing machine sat mid-use on a table, as if someone had simply walked away mid-task. The ship's lifeboat was missing, suggesting the crew left voluntarily. But why an experienced captain would abandon a seaworthy vessel in open ocean has never been explained. Theories range from a sudden storm scare to fumes from the cargo, but no wreckage, bodies, or survivors were ever found. Over 150 years later, it remains one of the most famous maritime mysteries in history. 4. The Dyatlov Pass Incident. In February 1959, a group of 9 experienced hikers set out to cross the Ural Mountains in Russia. They never returned. When rescuers found their campsite weeks later, the tent had been cut open from the inside, and the hikers were found scattered nearby, some without proper shoes or coats, in freezing conditions. Some had suffered severe internal injuries, without any external wounds to explain them, reportedly comparable to the force of a car crash. Investigators at the time ruled it a compelling unknown force. Decades of theories have followed, from avalanches to secret military testing, but no single explanation has ever fully accounted for everything found at the scene. 3. The Lost Colony of Roanoke. In 1587, roughly 115 English settlers established a colony on Roanoke Island in what's now North Carolina. When their governor returned from a supply trip 3 years later, the entire colony had vanished. There were no signs of struggle, no bodies, and no bones. The only clue left behind was a single word carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. Despite searches at the time and centuries of archaeological work since, no conclusive evidence has ever confirmed what happened to the settlers, whether they relocated peacefully, were absorbed into a nearby indigenous community, or met a darker fate entirely. 2. D.B. Cooper. In November 1971, a man calling himself Dan Cooper boarded a commercial flight, calmly informed a flight attendant he had a bomb, and demanded $200,000 in cash along with parachutes. After the ransom was delivered, he released the passengers, then had the plane take off again, and at some point over the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, he jumped out with the money, never to be seen again. Despite one of the largest manhunts in FBI history, spanning decades, his true identity has never been confirmed, and only a small fraction of the ransom money was ever recovered, found partially buried along a riverbank years later. To this day, it remains the only unsolved case of air piracy in American aviation history. 1. The Georgia Guidestones. In 1980, a mysterious man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian commissioned a massive granite monument in rural Georgia. Standing nearly 20 feet tall, it was inscribed in 8 languages with a set of guidelines for rebuilding society after a hypothetical catastrophe. The identity of the person who funded and designed it was never revealed. The granite company that built it was sworn to permanent secrecy, and no one ever came forward. For over 40 years, the monument stood largely undisturbed, becoming a strange landmark and the subject of endless conspiracy theories. Then, in July 2022, an explosion partially destroyed the structure in the middle of the night. Security footage reportedly showed a vehicle fleeing the scene, but no one has ever been identified, charged, or has ever come forward to claim responsibility, leaving both the monument's origin and its destruction unsolved. From an abandoned ship in open ocean to a monument blown apart in the middle of the night, some mysteries just don't have neat answers. And maybe that's part of what makes them so compelling. Which one of these do you think about the most? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more of history's strangest unsolved cases.